At your work, what is the office secret everybody knows? The 15-30-minute breakfast break is not officially allowed, but no one cares, because it significantly raises productivity. Everyone in my office does this, too. Just about half of the staff here goes down to the grill or coffee shop first thing every day. There's an executive Wi-Fi network that's off limits to the worker bees. Everyone knows the password. The big score. About 30% of us basically get paid to watch YouTube or read news because our job responsibilities can usually be fulfilled within a couple hours. My job is long stretches of complete boredom mixed in with the occasional frantic rush of actually doing things. I work really fast so I can get back to Reddit. CEO's new wife is a gold digger who despises him and just got married for her promotion. Sigh, I've done work in those households. She's in for a shock. It will not go according to plan. Spoiler alert. So much misery for both of them. That Tim is jumping ship. Well, everyone except the boss, that is. He got another job lined up a week or so ago and is waiting until exactly 2 weeks from his start date there to give his notice. A large majority of the middle management in my division of the company I work for are a bunch of raging alcoholics. Arrive to work by 10 in the morning, depart for the bar by noon, return to office around 6 to gather their things and presumably head back to the bar. This is everyday. That our boss is cheating on his wife with at least one intern. Neither of them know we all know what's going on. My wife worked in an office one time where everyone was positive that the boss was giving it to his 21-year-old assistant, and then my wife caught the assistant and her boss's wife doing the do at a Christmas party. A certain girl got plastered at our senior seller dinner and fricked a coworker 3 days after her wedding, and 9 months before she gave birth to her baby boy. I'd be sweating bullets if I were the coworker. My boss is missing one of his big toes. Every single one is the boss banging a subordinate, and here's yours. I'm cracking up. The company directors and senior management all took themselves on a management holiday to another country a couple of years ago under the guise of a customer meeting. First class flights, 5-star hotel, restaurant meals every night, all at company expense. While none of their staff had a pay rise for years, various projects were failing and so forth. They staggered their returns to work to make it look like they just coincidentally were on overlapping holidays. That's how freaking stupid they think the staff are. All of them are still directors, managers at the company and still run it like their own little fiefdom. Thankfully I'm just a third-party contractor doing all of their IT systems and support. Oh, and one of the director's partner was recently made a director. This is after only 5 years with the company where they previously worked in a bar and joined as a departmental assistant. Funny how shagging the right person can get you far. Well, I guess it gives you good leverage when it is time to renew the contract and raise the rates. There's a box of Thin Mints behind the computer. We have this one really old lady who's been working with us for years. Almost every night we see her taking a pen and putting it in her bag, as she leaves with a triumphant smile on her face. Everyone knows about it, but no one dares to say anything to her. We all think it's adorable because we know she's just trying to feel young again. That one of our IT techs is actually a LVL1, but he thinks he's still a LVL0, service request technician. We don't want to tell him so we don't have to give him access to certain things because he sucks. I'm in finance and, somehow, have admin access to our production environment across every single system in a Fortune top 50 company, but not wanting to be the guy you mentioned. I at least have the good grace to ensure that someone with superior knowledge is looking over my shoulder intermittently shouting obscenities at me whenever I'm asked to utilize said access privileges. The custodian is a stool pigeon. Our boss has that Malcolm Forbes quote hanging from his office wall. You can easily judge the character of a man by how he treats those who can do nothing for him. When downsizing begins, it's always the workers who are too snooty to make small talk with the custodian that are the first to be let go. I worked somewhere where the president's admin had worked with him for decades. He adored her. She ran the ship professionally and efficiently. You can be dang sure that any interview candidate who was rude to her wasn't getting the job. And when layoffs came around, he turned to her for advice and information. The HR manager is having an affair with the head of sales. They were spotted getting it on at the Christmas party and have been seen together in hotels since. Everyone talks about it, but they think they are being very secretive. One guy was out of work for 10-12 weeks on disability because he pooped his pants on the job, got sent home, and wrecked his car on the way home. I'd be making jokes about that for the next 20 years. We all work IT. Co-worker got his cousin pregnant. She's keeping it. Everyone in the building knows because she can't keep anything to herself. He's married with 4 kids. He's so fricked. Soon to be divorced with 5 kids and an estranged family. Even though we are not supposed to, all of my co-workers and I sit down to enjoy lunch and invite people over on Fridays when our boss isn't here. Such rebels. That sounds nice. Oh, so many. A major fashion label. At least 2 people, one very senior, did P. The president, CFO and senior directors were complicit in an embezzlement scheme that could have landed them in jail. Except for the bad publicity it would have caused, their combined payoffs were in the 8-figure region. One of the senior directors started as an intern and fricked her way to senior director, including a long-standing secret affair with the vice president. One director is expecting 2 kids this year, one by his wife and one by a junior member of staff he fricked at an office party. I work at Lowe's and one night the only 2 people working the paint desk left and had sex in the stock room. There was a huge line of customers that kept asking for help and no one else knew how to mix paint. 30 minutes later they came back but left the used condom in the back. To make it worse, she was dating someone else from work at the time. Dang, that is low. That our security cameras don't work. It's a bar. We do a lot of illegal gambling and boss doesn't want it on camera. But everyone knows so we get robbed regularly. After hours. We've been hit twice in the past couple months. Sounds like the bar needs more late night muscle security. A woman I worked with ran a daycare or something on the side and pushed a child down the stairs and killed the child, tampered evidence, and got away with it. I feel like this should be in an FBI subreddit. Our boss does site visits for hotels just so she can get complimentary night stays, not cause she is interested in holding events there. We all know that, but she thinks we don't. That seems like an easy thing to get hooked on. Our boss stole $100 million from FEMA in the aftermath of Hurricane Katrina. Whenever we get a new hire, while training them someone always quietly tells them to Google her when they get home. Army veteran checking in. In my last battalion, the sergeant major got busted for sending lewd photos to a female medic. Both were married. He was suspended and forced to retire. The S2, intelligence officer, showed up to work intoxicated and was sent to rehab. My supply sergeant did the same thing a week earlier and received an Article 15, reduced rank, extra duty, forfeiture of pay, when the S2, who was a West Point honor graduate, got home from rehab. She was immediately promoted to captain, and, a week or so later, she showed up to work drunk again, and was summarily dismissed from the army. Stories like these don't help morale. 2 lieutenants were living together and planning to get married, but the guy cheated on her with a single mom. She kicked him out of the house and he had to relocate on post. Oh, and he ended up marrying the single mom and adopting her 3 kids. Awkward when everyone involved, children included, showed up to his promotion ceremony. Lots of snickering from us. 2 soldiers in my company agree to swing, have sex with each other's wives, but one of them didn't tell his wife beforehand. When the other guy showed up to his house to bang said wife, she called the police and he got busted for it and lost rank. The one who actually did the deed got off scot-free. The list goes on. Paternity fraud, affairs, everything. And we all knew about it. It was the only unit on a tiny post in an isolated location. My brother CO had a little sex dungeon with a mattress and colored lights in a secluded area of his carrier where she would frick half the ship. Not my current job, but it was known that the store manager, 43, but a handsome 43, was fricking the 21-year-old clerk every Sunday morning when she opened the store. and he did inventory. I worked there for 2 years, and without fail their punch cards always showed they came to work 30 minutes earlier than necessary, and the manager once admitted to having a weekly side girl who was in her early 20s. It all lined up too well, especially the way they acted around each other. He was married with kids, but I got the impression he and his wife swung were open, but she was in a really committed relationship with a guy at another store in town. I don't know how that whole thing panned out, but I didn't want to get involved. But she was in a really committed relationship with a guy at another store in town. Doesn't sound like it. A girl at my last corporate gig blew 3 guys. I stopped counting at 3, in the bathroom of the bar we had rented out for the evening. Poor girl, really pretty, just low self-esteem I suppose. After that they had to move her from right behind reception to a hidden corner by HR because people kept walking by her desk, ogling, snickering. Wasn't very nice at all. Incidentally, 2 of the guys she fellated were married with children. It was then I realized I was a bit more mature than I used to be. Old me would have been one of the ogler snickerers. This me was like, why the frick aren't they walking by the guys' desks and laughing mocking them? Why aren't they walking by the guys' desks and laughing? Upvote for empathy. That if you don't follow the basic guidelines, and I mean basic like arriving on time and actually doing work, you might get reprimanded, but that's it. Nothing will happen. Nobody gets fired, ever. I love my job but dang. Sometimes I wish I could just leave my work ethics at home and stop giving a crap like half my co-workers. Also, that the recently divorced IT guy and the most definitely gay girl had a FWB thing going on for a couple months a while back. It's such an unlikely match that even when we openly mention it, everyone thinks we're joking. It's a lot of fun. An ex-employee, who still has a key to one of the entrance doors, stops by at night from time to time to help himself to the money in the petty cash box. We have new security cameras but we can't see the guy's face because he's pretty crafty. Why don't we change the locks? Because we're stupid. A guy snuck into 3 office on a Sunday, stripped down naked and filmed himself jacking off in the reception area with our company logo in the background. Somehow a friend of his tweeted the video at the company and he was let go the next day. Not sure why he did it but there are a lot of rumors about the situation. Our idea won't make money. I'm in this situation at my secondary job. No, the world doesn't need a little subscription music podcast service. No, it doesn't matter what decently famous rocker you get to host once in a while. We know you're the one that slashed Susan's tires, Becky, twice. 2 of our co-workers, both women in their 50s, are very clearly in a long-term relationship and have been for years. They own property together in Hawaii. They travel the world together. They are very obviously a couple, but at work it has never been acknowledged openly. I have worked with them for 6 years now, and before I got here they had both been here for at least 20 years. About 20 years ago I worked with a woman who was clearly in a same-sex relationship. She always referred to her partner as a roommate but we all knew. I felt sorry for her that she didn't feel like she could come out at work. Yes, I think some people would not have been kind, but I think the vast majority would have said something like, "About time," and shrugged their shoulders and moved on. That our manager likes to frick the employees despite being married and having a child. He gets quite upset when people that he wants to get with quit and he calls his favorites princess. It's quite disturbing. I'm pretty convinced there isn't a single manager out there without at least one major personality flaw. That one of the teachers is banging one of the admin staff. For bonus points her kid is in his class and he became a dad a few weeks ago. Only a matter of time before his wife finds out. The office hoe slept her way to the top. She slept with the general manager, who got fired. She stayed. If anyone talked about it she would be on them. She didn't like any gossiping about her. If anyone talked about it she would be on them. Kinky. I like it. That there's this one guy who has a huge dong. His name is Jim. Some men in the office say they've seen it in the men's room and can confirm. Never seen him, or it, but his name gets read out on the loudspeaker all the time, and every time it does everyone looks at each other like, yeah, that's the guy. I think you're talking about a guy named Jerry. I work for on a small defense contract for a big company working on unmanned aircraft. We have a guy here that occasionally unhooked cables or other trivial little things to cause issues that he then swoops in and fixes. I've outright caught his sabotage on one occasion, but I can't do anything about it because I found it while doing a workaround that I'm not technically allowed to do. Opening a server and discovering an fully unseated card which wouldn't allow the system to boot, though he had booted the system earlier in the day. Unfortunately, because I'm not allowed to perform that type of maintenance, I couldn't go on the record about what I had found. He's done stuff like this on multiple occasions, changing obscure settings that he magically remembers to check if something goes wrong, immediately beelining to out of the way cables that have miraculously loosened themselves, etc. etc. I want to do violence to him. Find an ethics hotline, either at your company or defense department. Typically you can remain anonymous. The former medical director and other doctors from a clinic I worked at were stuck in New Orleans during Hurricane Katrina. They had been there for a medical conference. They spent the entire couple weeks they were stranded there in the hotel bar smoking and getting drunk on the company dime. And when they returned, the medical director was given an award from our clinic for her outstanding service to the New Orleans community during the hurricane. In the hotel bar smoking and getting drunk on the company dime. And when they returned, the medical director was given an award from our clinic for her outstanding service to the New Orleans community during the hurricane. They kept the New Orleans lifestyle alive during a time of crisis, in a way that is as important as providing first aid. We all know IT was you, Mike, that left the tomato in the fridge before you quit, causing IT to become a disgusting pile of tomato goo. FFS, clean your fridge. I work in a dental office that used to be a front for the Indian mafia. They used to bootleg movies and print counterfeit money in the basement. It was over 20 years ago, but there are still remnants of some of the security measures they took to keep things concealed. The dentist that used to run the place and the operation downstairs was shot in the head one day as he pulled into his driveway, and the practice was then bought by my current boss after the police investigation concluded. Every new employee here gets told about this because even all these years later we'll get a call the odd time asking for the former dentist's wife or son. We don't tell any patients. Obligatory, not mine but someone I know. There are two middle-aged people in their office that hooked up after a business trip. Thing is, they each are married to other people, of course, and now they're behaving like schoolchildren with crushes at work. They are abysmal at hiding what they are doing and everybody knows, except for the big boss man, who rarely drops by the office, who is a devout family and religious man. I keep waiting for updates to see when and how it will blow up. I readied the popcorn. I'm imagining a single bag of popcorn in your desk drawer, ready to hit the microwave as soon as things get remotely interesting. I work at a restaurant owned by a married couple. The man had an affair with one of the servers and they almost got a divorce. This was a while ago. Every day they are both so angry and mean, but they're still together. Worst part is their son spilled the beans to everyone working at the restaurant. My office secret? Oh, it's a rocky one. Literally, every day we walk down the stairs to clock in. One day someone's shoe must have carried a rock and it fell off on one of the stairs. No one touches it. No one mentions it. Everyone sees the dang thing. It is light on a dark carpet. You can't miss it. Yet we all leave it and we're all secretly testing each other. It's been months. Who will break? WHO will pick up the rock. To be continued. Everybody knows I do a gaming channel with my 5-year-old son now. Never leave your workstation computer unlocked, ladies and gentlemen, and close your tabs before lunch. Hey, I remember you from a couple months ago. I think it's such a good idea. Will be great to watch when he's older too. Nice try, new boss. My office, tomorrow morning. If you are new to the channel, you can subscribe. I publish new videos every day. Until then, check another video. Bye for now.